Hey YouTube, it's Corlash1990, and today I have another deck tech video for the Nightmare Before Christmas TCG. And this one is not like my other decks. I use a theme in this deck that was used in the second and final set made, which has the Christmas location, like the Christmas town locations like these. And there's a lot of other ones. Though, in my opinion, these two are the only two probably worth playing. Santa's Workshop is kind of cool. It's also an ultra rare, so it's a little harder to get. But these ones were, in my opinion, the more useful ones, and I'll go into those. I'll go into why these are better a little bit later. So as usual, I'll go through the deck with locations, characters, which this deck plays a lot of characters. In fact, any deck using Christmas Town cards is going to play a lot of characters. And then creations, which barely have any. And then surprises, which are probably some of the most key cards in this deck. So for locations, I am starting with Oogie's Lair because I'm also using Oogie Boogie, if you couldn't tell by Oogie 8-Ball right here. Sorry for blinding you with this screen. I'm trying to show the foil. There we go. And as I make a mess of the cards. And he also is this thematic with how the whole Christmas Town thing goes. So is Jack Skellington, but with a more one-dimensional view, whereas Oogie Boogie's kind of has another little sub-layer on with it. So again, Oogie's Lair, it's also good because it generates more pumpkin points than any of the other starting locations. Treehouse, because it's one of the locations that allows your Halloween characters to travel to Christmas Town, which is really important. Same with Tree Circle. This deck doesn't necessarily care what these locations do as a function. It is simply there to travel back and forth. Because basically we're going to be playing elves to our two Christmas Town locations. We can be sacrificing them or baking them into pies with Mrs. Claus to gain advantage. And then when we have enough of them in play, we'll be moving our Halloween characters to the Christmas Town, gaining benefits off of that, essentially taking them or kidnapping them back to Halloween Town and then sacrificing them for additional buffs. I play the Well because I am using all of the ghosts in this deck. If you don't want to use the ghosts and just use other good characters, I would replace this with Scary Bed if you have it, and then the Corpse family resource generating package. Now the two locations. So Elven Bedchamber is probably the best. And if you don't know how these locations work, these ones have a number here. That's the amount of cost worth of characters that need to be there in order to use them. This number is how many Christmas characters need to be at this location to just get this bonus for the entirety that this location is activated. Same with Bakery. So you can have multiple characters, on multiple locations, and you gain all these static buffs, right? So Elven Bedchamber, its bonus is whenever an elf is discarded from your Christmas Town, draw a card, which you're going to be doing with Mrs. Claus when she's at the bakery. The bakery's bonus is whenever you perform a search, add one to the number of cards being searched. I don't really care about that. It's just when Mrs. Claus is here while an elf is sacrificed, you get additional bonuses, which then stack with Elven Bedchamber. I will say my biggest gripe with the Christmas location and characters and all that stuff is that it's almost like you're playing two different decks that do two different things into one deck. It's not super synergistic, and all of the Christmas characters and locations do not help you get to your end goal for winning. They don't help you win, right? The Halloween characters, the way you win is by having the most points out, characters and creations. Total all that up. All the Christmas characters are worth 0. They don't actually contribute to you winning. All they do is just give you these bonuses and different card advantage options to then feel you getting there. But it's really difficult when you only have 6 locations in your location deck, or your locales, or whatever they call them. It's hard to get enough locations in your deck without going full on just this, and then not enough of this, right? It's just, and then, like, the characters, they can't transfer back and forth without playing certain surprises that allow you to do that, which we have these in here. And it's all of the Christmas characters, they all key off of a certain Christmas location being a play. And there's a fair amount of them, more than 6. And it's really difficult to choose what avenue to go down for your Christmas location. So in my opinion, use the generic Christmas characters that are just good, and then just run these with Mrs. Claus, and then try to get Mrs. Claus to her bakery. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the characters. So since we're playing Oogie's location, we're obviously playing 4 of the main Oogie Boogie. And in this deck, I decided to go with Oogie 8-Ball over Gamblin' Boogeyman, which is the non-ultra rare version. Though I think it is still just better than this, but I wanted a deck that played this because this card just looks amazing. Right, and it's also a character worth 6. His ability is whenever he's played, the player with the least number of active locations must discard half the cards in their hand, rounded up. That could be cool, it could be great, you know, whatever. Typically, your opponent's going to discard about 1 to 2 cards, so it's really not that great. And just my opinion, I'd rather pitch my hand and then replace it. And so for characters that can travel, I am playing Lock, Shock, Barrel, and Jack. They can all travel between Christmas towns. They all have this little ability here. And then Jack on a Hex, if he moves through a Christmas town location, you can add a pumpkin point. So it's an additional, like, free resource. I play Hanging Tree just because it's a 3-cost character that can be cheaper to help you win the game. You know, 3 points is pretty good for a character. Same with Reaper, but Reaper is also just good, discarding characters out of your hand. And I am also playing all of the Ghosts. The Ghosts are all right. You know, they're all 1-cost characters, which isn't bad. They all do things with the well. You know, the well, whenever he's played, he searches for ghosts, and so on and so forth. They all are very synergistic with themselves. And now for the Christmas character cards, which you can tell by all the Christmas lights on the side. So Santa Claus, obviously, you know, he's all right. He has a Hex. During your turn, you can search 6 for elves, which is, you know, anything with elf in its name. Which there's some good ones, like Nelly and Susie. But yeah, he's just there for thematic reasons. Mrs. Claus's Hex is once during your turn, you may discard 1 elf from her locale, and then if the elf discarded was at the bakery, you draw a card. So then Elven Bedchamber, you draw another card whenever an elf is discarded. Sacrificing an elf to draw 2 cards, basically baking them into a pie, is pretty good. Nelly the Elf is when she's played, you may immediately discard your entire hand to draw 1 card for every additional elf at her location. So you could just have, like, no cards in your hand, drop her, you know, like, she's the only card in your hand, drop her, do nothing, and then if you have, like, 5 elves, you just draw up to 5 cards. So she is the best elf, in my opinion. When Susie's played, if your hand is empty, draw 2 cards, which is also pretty good. When Iggy's played, if Jack is at his location, which he should be, if, you know, when you're playing him, you gain a pumpkin point. And when any is played, each player may immediately draw 1 card. These are pretty much all of the elves that don't key off of locations that are decent. The rest of them all key off of pretty much different locations, and it's really frustrating to find enough room in your location deck to fit all that stuff in, right? You don't want to cut yourself short on generating pumpkin points unless you're really just trying to work off of 3 pumpkin points every single turn, or doing these little combos to try and get up to 4 or maybe 5 points per turn. You know, you don't want to run just a ton of Christmas locations. So for that reason, these are the only ones I'm running, which seem to be, you know, enough. You're cycling through 1 to 2 every single turn. Now for the creations, I play Christmas Town Surprise, or Supplies, which is a 6 cost. That could potentially cost 1. Typically, it's going to cost you about, you know, 3 to 4. It costs less for every ghost at your well. Hence why we play the Well. Well also moves cards for very cheap. Jumbo Treat Bag because we play Lock, Shock, and Barrel. And Oogie's Dice because we play Oogie Boogie. And we don't need him to really be at his lair a whole lot. So it's just good to get that free move. And now for the surprises, which are pretty key. The main one being Magical Journey. It's a zero-cost surprise, so I already like it. Look at zero-cost surprises as a free card draw. At the end of your turn, you're going to replace it and draw a card. But basically, it says, move a Halloween character from your tree circle to one of your Christmas Town locales, or from one of your Christmas Town locales to your tree circle. This character is considered to have the text, may travel between Halloween towns during the movement. So, this is how we're going to get a lot of our other characters into our Christmas towns to then gain more benefits off of Junk's position. This card's very key. Need to play 4 of this. And in my opinion, you need to play 4 of it. The rest of these are 3 different cards that we all play 2 copies of. Junk's position is a surprise that costs 1. You add 1 pumpkin point for every Halloween character, not including Jack, Lock, Shock, or Barrel, to an active locale into your Christmas Town. Maximum of 4 pumpkin points. So the ghosts or hanging tree, so on and so forth. You want to move them to your Christmas Town, gain a bunch of points, drop a bunch of other characters in your Halloween Town, and then start moving things over and then gaining your advantage off of that. And by gaining advantage off of that, I mean these right here. So next we have 2 Deprived Offering. Again, zero-cost surprise. I like it. If Oogie is at his lair and your Lock, Shock, and Barrel are at the treehouse, discard any number of Christmas characters who are at your treehouse to gain a pumpkin point for each character discarded. So, instead of drawing cards from discarding your elves, you can gain pumpkin points for discarding your elves. That's essentially what that card does, and then replaces itself for free. And then the last card we play in the deck is a 1-cost surprise called Mission of Menace. We have 2 copies of it. If your Lock, Shock, and Barrel are at the same Christmas Town locale, move them and any number of other characters at the same locale, ideally the elves, to the treehouse. And then all those characters may travel between Halloween towns. So essentially, Lock, Shock, and Barrel are kidnapping a bunch of elves, and then this card feeds them to Oogie Boogie to gain resource points, which is pretty thematic in my opinion. But anyway, that is the deck. It's very hit or miss. Like I said, this game needed a 3rd set to really solidify the Christmas Town theme. But with just the 1 set, it's not enough. It really isn't. It's like I said, it has almost like a duality type of feel. It's very split down the middle. And there's not a whole lot of synergies outside of characters that can travel between towns. And if you want my opinion, I would not build a deck with the Christmas characters or Christmas locales. I would just stick to the Halloween characters and the Halloween Town locations. That's what's going to win you games. It's thematic, it matches the movie. It can be fun, but it's also incredibly complicated to play. It requires a lot more thought, which is why I wasn't going to post this deck in the first place. But since I'm doing a video every day this week, and it's my last deck that I have, I figured I might as well, right? But it can win if you know what you're doing, right? Along with, just pretty much every other deck in this game. And the theme is just, it's on point, right? It's so thematic. But I digress. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.